Hatzlocho, uvrocho, and a good vach to everybody and anybody who watches us on Torah anytime or on YouTube or here in the room. Thank you all for coming. We are starting Bezos Hashem, the very end of the second parak of Maseches Makkos. Bezos Hashem, today we'll finish the second parak of Makkos. So if we're learning Makkos, let's hit it. Says the Heilige Mishnah, Horag be'oisa ir, Yud Beis Amud Beis in the bottom of the page, the shields for that sloch of Gans Klal Yisrael, especially for the Atzal of Medir Chaver, Yonasan Asher Yehuda ben Michal should be saved and be rescued from the jail. Says the Heilige Mishnah, Horag be'oiso ha'ir. What happens if a rotzech b'shoigeg killed in the same city? Which means this is a second time offense. This rotzech b'shoigeg used to live in wherever. He was rotzech b'shoigeg, now he ran away and should stay in one Ir Miklat. Give an example of the name of an Ir Miklat in Eretz Yisrael, Hebron. So now he's in Hebron, and you know what happened in Hebron? He's already serving there his kind of life sentence in Hebron. Now what? In Hebron, he killed someone. Oh, second time. So now what he's going to do? Are you going to just let him stay there? No, you can't stay there. Why? Because it's not fair. Something has to be done to him, right? He has to be punished, to a kapora. On the other hand, what are you going to do? To make him move to another city is also wrong. He's not allowed to leave town. He's not allowed to leave the city because he's not supposed to. So what does he do? Goyle mishchuna l'shchuna. He's goyle from one neighborhood to the other. Yeah, he's in Hebron in neighborhood X. Now he goes to neighborhood Y, and he's not allowed to go back to neighborhood X. In other words, he becomes even more constricted, more limited in his movements. Now he has to stay in the new shchuna. Yeah, he does golus, internal golus inside that town. That's the solution, as we're going to see more in the Gemara. That is the first case. Who are the other citizens of the Ir Miklat besides Mr. Rotzeach and his friends? The Bnei Levy. They were born there. That's a natural, hometown. Ben Levy, Le'ir. What about if a Ben Levy, a regular denizen of the town, a Ben Levy killed someone by mistake, so he gets golus from one town to the other. The Ben Levy, he's born there. He's allowed to leave the place. The Ben Levy is allowed to travel as much as he'd like, wherever he wants. He can travel to Japan if there are flights. Elamai, the Ben Levy is allowed to leave the town. Therefore, if he killed someone, what's going to do? What's going to happen? He will leave Hebron and go to Shechem or to Kadesh. He'll go somewhere else. That is what the Mishnah says, and of course, there's more in the Gemure. Zuk the Heilige Gemure says the Gemure. The Shiur the Ilu Nishmas, my dear father of Mori Menachem ben Akiva, Yortzeit next week. Tono Bonon, V'samti lecha mokoim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling Moshe Rabbeinu, V'samti lecha mokoim, lonus shomo. I'll designate a place for you, in order to run away to. What's V'samti lecha mokoim? Who's Hashem talking to? Moshe Rabbeinu. And what's Hashem telling Moshe? V'samti lecha b'chayecha, which means Hashem told Moshe, I promise you that with all the touchy subject of not going to Eretz Yisrael, which was always an issue with Moshe Rabbeinu, like in this week's parsha, you will have the zchus to create an Ir Miklat in your life. In your lifetime, you will have the zchus to designate Ir Miklat, and so it was. Continues the posuk, Mokoim, okay, Mimkoimcha, which means, Miokoim means from your place. What does it mean from your place? Besides the drosha of you will build Ir Miklat, Mokoim means your place. Hashem is talking to Moshe, and he's telling him, Mimkoimcha, your place will be an Ir Miklat. What do you mean your place? Where did Moshe Rabbeinu live? Rabbi Isai, where did Moshe Rabbeinu live during the 40 years in the desert? Where in the Midbar? Can you be a little bit more exact? Like in London. Where in the Midbar? Huh? Yeah, I know, but inside the Machne, where was it located? With Dan, Asher? What? The center in Machne Levia. Moshe Rabbeinu lived in Machne Levia. There were three orbits. There was the Mishkan, Machne Keuna. There was Machne Shechina. There was Machne Levia around it, and around it Machne Sol. The Levy, which is Moshe Rabbeinu and his friends, they lived in Machne Levia. Mekoimcha, your place. Asher Yonus Shama. In other words, your place. The place where you live will be an Ir Miklat, meaning the Irei Halevim will be Or Miklat. In your place, Moshe Rabbeinu, even while you're in the Midbar, your place will be an Ir Miklat. Melamed Shoyu Bnei Yisrael Maglin Bamidbar. Bnei Yisrael, if someone killed, I don't know if it actually happened or not, but if one of Bnei Yisrael would kill his friend mistakenly in the Midbar, somebody from Shevet Reuven mistakenly killed someone from Shevet Gad with no bad intention, but the level of shoygeg, then in the midbar there was a near miklat. There was a miklat area. Where was the miklat? Mamad lechan maglin lemachne levia. In other words, in the machne levia, the area where Moshe Rabbeinu lived was the equivalent to Or Levim, because that's where Levim lived, right? Him and his family. So the machne levia. And therefore, the Machne Levia, him and Aaron, the children, Kohanim and Levim, they lived there. That was a place where the Rotzech B'Shegeg would run to in the Midbar. Mikan Omu. From here we learn, there's another drosha hidden here, and that is when it says Mekoim Lecho, when Hashem talks to Moshe, what does Hashem tell Moshe? Something Lecho Mokoim. What does it mean Lecho Mokoim? I will make a place for you. Meaning, what happens if a Ben Levi kills? You, Moshe Rabbeinu, not you, nothing personal, but if somebody like Moshe Rabbeinu, i.e. a Levy, if he kills, you'll also have a place, or the Or Levim. Mikan Omu, from here they learn, Ben Levi Sha'arag, Goyle Mipelech Lepelech. A Ben Levi that killed, I would have said, maybe there's no Golus, just stay in your town, right? Let's say the Levi lives in a Kodesh, stay in Kodesh all your life. We say, no, you can't just stay there and not go out. It's not enough of a punishment. You have to be goyle and go to exile from one pelech to the other. Now, the word pelech is very misleading. The word pelech, and Tosis in Zvochem has an issue with that. What does pelech usually mean? No, you happen to be right. You happen to be right here, but here's an exception to the rule. Usually pelech is a region, an area, a county. Pelech is a few cities together. Pelech is an area. Usually, you happen to be right. Okay, I mean, Siyata Dishmaya. Here, Taisa says it's an exception to the rule. Here, Pelech means a city. So here, the Or Levim, if the Levi was born in Kodesh, he now can't just stay there and be jailed, so to speak, home arrest in his own town, but rather he should go from Kodesh to where? To Ramot, to Golan, somewhere else. V'im Gola Pilchoi Koltoi. However, if he's goyle in town, inside his own city, that's also good enough. What does that mean? It means to say that really, if he wants to do golus in his own city, to move from one neighbor to the other, that is also okay, also for the Ben Levi. Soon I'm going to tell you how the Rishonim learn this, but I'm just reading, So basically, what did we say? So far, I'll just see the Makor and then we'll say everything. How do you know that the Pasuk allows the Ben Levi to stay in his own town and not go from one town to the other? It says, Kibir Mikloto Yeshev. He should sit in Ir Miklotoi. Ir Shekoloto Soikvar. The town that already absorbed him can absorb him again. How? By Shchuna L'Shchuna. Let me explain everything. The Tosfos and the Sotos Asir, Tosfos and Zvochem, the Sotos Sabenu Peretz, and Tosfos Shantz, I've seen. Basically, I'll tell you what's going on over here. We saw the pasuk is telling Be'ir Mikloto Yeshev. The pasuk seems to be talking about the guy who is a Rotzeach B'Shoigeg that was once already in town. He has to leave town. In other words, he was born where? Where did he murder by mistake? In Netanya. Now, where was he going to? The closest place, Shechem. Now, in Shechem, he killed again. What's now? You can't just stay there or even move from one neighbor to the other. That doesn't seem to be in the card, right? However, says the Mishnah, not like that. The Mishnah said, no, he should stay in town. Why? Why should he stay in town? It's not fair. Because what do you want him to do? The guy murdered already, right? So he halachically is not allowed to leave, let's say, the town Shechem. He's not allowed to. So what will we do with him? The guy who's a regular, Rotzech B'Shegeg, who's Rotzech twice, he'll be second punishment, even more severe. He'll now move from the neighborhood where he lived in Shechem, from neighborhood X to neighborhood Y. From A to B, like in Betar, they have A and B, right? He moves from A to B, right? He moves to another area, and there he's more limited, he's more constricted, and that's the kapar he deserves. That's a guy who's a double Rotzech B'Shogeg. That's Adkan HaKofa Aleph, and that's a poshup shot of the posuk. However, since the posuk also spoke about Levim, the Gemara darshans about Levim as follows. The Gemara says also about Levim, Shugoy Lepelech Lepelech, he has to leave town and go from one town to the other. Why? He deserves a real punishment. The Ben Levy. Now talk about the second guy, the Ben Levy. Ben Levy was a nice guy. He was born in that year levi'im. That's where it's naturally born. That's his hometown. Okay, very nice. He breathed the air of the city, and that's where he's been all his life until one unfortunate day he killed B'Shoigig. What are you going to do with him now? He is allowed to leave town, right? And he should. He should have the proper golus and should run away from, let's say, where was he born? Shechem. He should run to Kadesh up north, yeah, because that's where it should be. And really, that's halacha. All of a sudden comes the Braisa towards the end and tells us, "In golal pilcho pilcho koltoi." They can also leave. He can also stay in his own town and move from one neighborhood to the other. The Ben Levi, like the other guy, and all the Rishonim are asking why. The din should be he should move. The Mishnah said meir leir from one town to the other. That's a real punishment. There are two answers. First of all, it's all more or less the same idea. One answer says halachically lechatchila he's supposed to move out of town, yeah, and leave town and go to a different city because that's a proper punishment. If he's asking the rabbi, the Beis Din, they tell him run to a different city because you deserve proper galus. Don't stay in the comfort of your own, your comfort zone where your mommy and daddy and family and your local grocer and your local kollel and bowling alley. No, go somewhere else. However, if he decided to stay, yeah, in town and move to a different neighborhood and stay the other neighborhood, it's also beseder. That's also accepted as a second best. And then we learn from the pasuk bir miklota yeshiv. One pasuk says run away to the Levy to the other city, even if you're a Levy, like to Moshe Rabbeinu, and the ir miklota is b'di'evid. The other answer is to quote the Tosfos. I mean, the Tosfos at the end of the Gemara, they say we're just giving the Kohen a good advice. When we tell the Kohen ben Levi goyla meir leir, we're telling him, listen, you may prefer to go to a different town. Why? When you go to a different town, you have the entire town to walk around. Yeah, it's a new area, a new environment, maybe a new fresh start for you. Lamaisa, when you go from, let's say, from Hebron to Kodesh, in Kodesh, you can walk around the whole town, the parks and the swimming pool and the 2,000 or 3,000 amos of area all around. Go wherever you want, as long as you're in town. And that's just an Eitzah Tova. It may be nicer for you, mister. If you are a homebody, you're a person of habits, and you prefer to stay in your own city, great. But it'll be much, much more limited. Why? Because you'll have to be goyle from one neighborhood to the other neighborhood. And in town, you'll be limited just to the new neighborhood, or at least not to go back to your neighborhood. So you're more limited in your movements, and it may not be the best for you. That's a pshat. That's halacha here. Okay?
If a killer kills the second time and goes to a different city,
Yeah.
and there's relations of the second killing in the second city, is he still safe from there?
Oh, I was going to ask Bemis. They're not allowed to kill him. It's a good point, but the Goyal Adam is not allowed to kill him even if they live in the other city. They're not allowed to kill him. The Goyal Adam shouldn't go into a town, but if he's there, he's not allowed to kill him. He's safe. In other words, what happens if Mr. Mafioso lives in the same town as Mr. Victim? They both live in New York and Manhattan. He's not allowed to kill him. It may be difficult for him, it's part of his nature. No, it's a good point. It crossed my mind too. He's poshet osur. Once he's halachically there as a refugee, right? Okay, be it in his own town in a different neighborhood, yeah, or in a new town, even if the Goyal Adam lives there, the Goyal Adam is halachically not permitted to do anything. Yeah, l'choiro, beseder. Yeah.
No, just relating to 6
No. It's all 48. No, doesn't say that. No, nicht. It's all 48. That's a different nakuda. What is the difference we've seen so far? It's actually a good introduction to the next Mishnah. So far, what's the difference between the 42 cities and the special 6 ones? We saw so far one difference, and that is awareness. It's all about awareness, which means what? In the cities, the 6 cities, even if he doesn't know that he's there, he's saved. He just happens to walk in. He's saved. And the other ones, the other 42, he's only saved if he's aware that he's there. How do you find out? I don't know. But let's say you can prove one or the other. Goyal Adam has, I don't know, all kinds of ways to prove that the guy, the Rotzech, didn't know he is an Ir Miklat. He has recordings. He has two Eidim. They ask the Rotzech B'Shegeg, are you in your miklat right now? There's a camera watching. He says, no, this is not in your miklat. Boom, bullet in the head, right? According to some Tanoim, because if he's not aware that he's there and it's one of the 42, he's not safe. He's not safe. Yeah, he's not immune. Mashenkin in the 6 cities is immune anyways. This has nothing to do with what we learned now, but actually happy you mentioned it because it's a little bit to do with the next Mishnah. Yeah, okay. Okay, let's have more. Yeah, I'm listening. Zog the Mishnah. What? Yeah. Questions.
Okay.
Yeah. Says the Mishnah. Kayoitze boy. The word kayoitze boy redundant because the word kayoitze boy is a copy and paste from the same Mishnah in a different place. Leave these words alone. It's a whole thing, nothing to do with us. Rotzeach shegolo le'ir miklotoi. A rotzeach, a murderer, ran away to a city of refuge, miklat, v'rotzu ansheir lechabdoi. Now, let's say the people of town, they don't know that he's rotzeach b'shoiging. The committee accepted him, the Beis Din, if we follow what it says in Yoshua. Lemaisa, yeah, they now, he comes to shul, the mechubadik guy, he starts talking and learning. Everybody knows he's a good learner. He takes out his credit card and gives a donation of whooping $10,000. Yeah, fancy silk tie as he drives a nice Tesla, not Tesla, what did they say? Yeah. Bekitzer, ich weiß nicht mit a Lamborghini, Bekitzer, whatever, Talmid Chacham, billionaire, he has a beautiful family. Everyone wants to respect him, okay? Yomer lehen rotzeach ani. He's supposed to tell them, I'm sorry guys, sorry to burst your bubble, I'm a murderer. Yeah, he's supposed to identify himself and not enjoy the kind of fake cover he's getting from the people in town. Because not everyone in town knows Ellen. Even if the official people do, doesn't mean everyone else does, right? Misrad Pnim knows who you are, not everybody else knows who you are. So he's supposed to tell them, I'm sorry, I'm a rotzeach, and take it as you want. Let's say tell him, who cares you're a tzech? You're still rich and nice and handsome and Talmid Chacham, right? We still like you just the same. We're accepting $10,000, do it, $20,000 from a moised, we still want to be mechabed you. Then he's allowed to accept the covered. In other words, once they're aware of the fact he's a rotzeach, mitzido, as far as he's concerned, he identified himself as such, then he's supposed to accept from them. He's not supposed to. He's allowed to accept the honor and glory and cover that they give him. Shenema, as it says, dvar harotzeach. What's dvar harotzeach? We always know dvar is thing, and dvar is the matter. Dvar all means ledaber ivri. Dvar harotzeach means what? Not good. Dvar harotzeach means what? To say. You're supposed to ledaber and say, I'm a rotzeach. Maybe buy a t-shirt? No, I'm a murderer. That's a cool t-shirt. Okay, very nice. Here comes the big question. Ooh, that's the other difference between the 6 cities and the other 42. Malim yuschar le'levim, sochor le'levim, divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Says Rabbi Yehuda, Malim, I'm on purpose not translating full. Malim hoyu sochor le'levim. They would give sachar, give money to the Levim, says Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Meir, Omer, lo hoyu malim leim sachar. Big machlokas Rashi Tosfos over here. There are 3 issues that we discuss here. You know my fave, yeah? Kesef, money, and guilt. These are the 3 issues that we're discussing now. And the question is, the guy sitting there in town, is this like a rent-free program? Yeah, does somebody else pay him? I'm a Levy, yeah, and I'm renting. I have this rental unit in my house, 2 rooms, separate entrance, very nice beds. We just built new doors if you want. Yeah, and now what? And now is this Rotzech B'Shegeg is stuck in the house? Is he supposed to pay me? Is he supposed to pay the taxes, or is that like the Torah is mechayiv everyone to treat him with kids' gloves and not to take any money? Can anybody tell me the story here? Says Rabbi Yehuda. I mixed a few things together on purpose, by the way. Says Rabbi Yehuda, Malim Sachar Levim, they're supposed to give Sachar to the Levim. Rabbi Meir, no, it's all for free. Let's see Rashi and Tosfos, and then I'll tell you a very nice explanation from the Oruch Laner, one of the Choshev Achronim of the recent years, not very recent. Malim Ho Yozok Rashi, Ha'orim Sachar Levim, Sheroitzchim Sochim Emes Bat Yadira. Did you hear that? Malim Ho Ha'orim. The city would give sachar to the Levim. According to Rashi, if you're a Levy and you rent your house rent-free to the Levy, the area the city hall, the city council, the municipality, the local authority, they pay you to host the Levy. The Rotzech B'Shogeg. The Rotzech B'Shogeg. They pay the Levy, the Rotzim. In other words, it's a run state program. According to Rabbi Meir, no, it's free. You're supposed to give it. The Torah tells you have to host him for free. You have to give it for free. That's part of Yechiv as a Yiddish mensch. That's what Rashi learns according to Rabbi Yehuda. Toisves, please. You notice on the left-hand side. Yeah. Mali ma yisachol levim. Zog Toisves pirush roitzchim. Habayim v'dorim sham. The roitzchim will come and live there. You know, the cumber the thrones. Tzrichin la'alois mas v'arnoina levim. In other words, they have to pay taxes, mas and arnoina, different types of taxes, local taxes, not local taxes, to the levim. In other words, they have to pay the taxes for town. Right? They have to pay their arnona bills, the rotzchim b'shegeg. The lotem exile samelech al levim la'akiv oisan be'iran. Don't say that there's exile sakosuv that the levim have to just absorb them and nobody has to pay. Just like everybody else pays taxes, they too pay taxes. So very interesting. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, they pay. What do they pay is a good question. And Rabbi Meir says they don't pay. Now, Rabbi Yehuda, what do they pay? Says Rashi that the city pays the landlords the rent, right? And the Tosfos says that they pay the taxes of Levim. Fragt the Aruch Laner, why can't anybody speak about a normal case? The Rotzech B'Shogeg could be a rich guy. You remember, 10,000 donations. He has a Lamborghini, paparazzi. He has a lot of. He could be a rich guy, not a rich guy. Why can't you just say that he's paying the rent? So the Aruch Laner says something very nice. Both Rashi and Tosfos learn either the city pays the landlord or they pay taxes. Nobody says that they pay rent. Why? He says the Loshon Ma'alim Hoyu Sachar, Le'ha'alo Ischar is not a normal way of saying pay rent. To pay rent is Mishalim, right? Mishalim is Sachar, Mishalim Schirus. Le'ha'alois is either Loshon of somebody else is paying for you, or la'alois is mas. It says in places in the Torah and also in the Mishnah, mali mas. That's why it's like that. But there's a third opinion. That's the Rambam, and Rambam is more halachic than them. The Rambam says that those roitzchim b'shegeg have to pay their rent. He doesn't believe in those diukim of Rashi and Tosfos. Maybe it's a different pshat altogether. The Aruch Laner has some other appeal pool there. L'maisa, according to the Rambam, it's a third pshat. Malim schar means plain and simple. What's malim schar? Rotzech b'shegeg has to pay 4,000 every month, 5,000 every month. Yerushalayim even more. Yeah, he has to pay sachar to the landlord. That's how the Rambam learns. According to who? According to Rabbi Yehuda, where Rabbi Meir says you don't have to. That's Adkan. We're going to see more in the Gemara. No questions now because it will come back in the Gemara. Third topic of the Mishnah, the Chayzer l'srara shehoya bo divrei Rabbi Meir. Says Rabbi Meir, let's say that Rotzech b'shegeg was a gabbai in a shul. Let's say it was a shliach tzibur. Let's say it was a menahel, it was a mayor. Okay, today it's democracy, but let's say it's not. He was a choshuv rebbe, whatever he was. Yeah, he had a srara, rosh yeshiva. Yeah, he had some kind of authority. Says Rabbi Meir, he goes back to the same status. When the Kohen Gadol finally dies, from his point of view, yeah, there came the happy moment where the Kohen Gadol died. I'm talking from his perspective. He goes back home to his normal life. He goes back to his original srara. He goes back to the original high status that he had before, if he had one. Rabbi Yehuda, says Rabbi Yehuda, yeah, Rabbi Yehuda says, Rabbi Yehuda again is stricter with the Rotzech b'shegeg. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, he doesn't go back to the srara. If it was a gabbai in the shul in Netanya, he's not going to be the gabbai of the shul anymore. Yeah, in other words, yeah, you done something wrong. You did your bit. You had your years in this open air jail called your miklat. Now you're back to, be a little bit more humble. We're not interested in you being the gabbai of the shul in Netanyahu. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Kahana, Mechloikes b'shesh. We're now referring to the Mechloikes about the geld. Does he or doesn't he pay the rent or the arnona, the taxes? Amar Rav Kahana. Machlekes b'shesh. The Machlekes Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Meir only applies to the 6 cities. Why? The Mal Sova, it says about the 6 cities, it says lochem. Yeah, it says v'hoyu lochem heorim lamiklat. This pasuk talks about the 6 cities, and it says those cities should be for you. For who? For the Rotzech b'shegeg. Leklita, What do you mean it would be for you? For you to be saved from the Goel Adam. The other opinion, Rabbi Meir, that says that it's for free, he says, no, it's yours for anything. Lochem, it's yours. When somebody says it's yours for free, possibly. It's yours, rent-free, tax-free, all free. It still belongs to you, the city. You don't have to pay anything. That's only regarding the 6 cities. But the 42 cities, it doesn't say lochem about the 42 remaining cities, the other ones. Then of course you have to pay. That special dispensation, that special, rent-free, freebie thing is only lochem, which lochem may mean for free. But with the 42, it doesn't say lochem, so of course you have to pay. No shaila, you have to pay for the 42. You want to go to the rent-free place? Run further. You have to run more. You have to run until you get to one of the 6. Yeah. Okay. This program is very challenging. Weiter. Says Rove, no. Says Rove wrong. Rove argues on Rav Khan. He says no. The word lochem for sure means for free, which means those 6 towns are clearly free of charge, rent-free, because that's what lochem means, according to the way Rove understands. Lochem, it's yours. It's yours. Feel free. Maybe you don't have money. Maybe you do. We want to make it we want to accommodate Otzef Meshageg Misken. It's a Shogeg. He's chased by God Adam. Let him stay there for free. However, the Machloikis is the 42 extra cities. That's what the Machloikis. What's the Machloikis? It says the Ma'asavar va'aleihim titnu. It says on top of them, on top of the 6, you add another 42. What does it mean on top of them? Some kind of comparison between 42 and 6. Kihanach, just like the other one. Ma'anach l'kol tzorchechem, afaninami l'kol tzorchechem. Says Rabbi Meir, when the Torah compares the 42 to the 6, what's the difference? There is no difference. It compares it completely. There's 6 plus 42, and the both are aleihem, on top of them, meaning like them. Just like them, yeah. L'kol tzorchechem, so too l'kol tzorchechem, yeah. In other words, let me read again. Read me again. I'm sorry, skip the word. I'm restarting from Elam Arove. Machlokes Barboim V'Shtayim. For the 42 cities, there's a machlokes whether it's rent-free or not. The Masav Abaleim Titnu Kihanach Leklita, finished. One opinion says, what's the comparison between the 6 and the 42? Klita. That's Klita. They absorb you. It's a city of refuge, but that's it. That's the only comparison. Other than that, there's no comparison. 6 are rent-free and 42 are not rent-free. They're yours. They're similar, but not identical. They're free and they're not. But the other Tana says, Va'aleim titnu. Va'aleim titnu means what does it mean? On top of them, like them, they're completely like them, identical. Kihanach, just like the 6, so too are the 42. Just like those are completely rent-free, the 6, so to the 42. That is what Rabbi Meir believes. So all 48 are rent-free. Aval b'shesh, when it comes to the 6 towns, everyone agrees. Everyone agrees. Lo yimalin lehem sachar. The rent-free, nobody has to pay anything according to the Rabbi Meir. Haloche, says the Heilig Rambam. Yeah, what is that? So how many differences do we have now? Says the Rambam, when it comes to Rambam Paskins like Rabbi Meir, the Rambam Paskins like either Rav Kana or Rava, but the Maise Halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda. You know that? Usually Rabbi Yehuda argues against the Tana. Halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda. And Rabbi Yehuda says that he would give Sachar. They would give Sachar. Which Sachar? Where would they give Sachar? Where would they have to pay? Only in the 6, not the 42. That's what the Rambam Paskins. Yeah, they give Sachar for 6, not for the 42. Okay, that's the Lakrove. Yeah, 6 you pay, and the other 6 you don't pay. 6 are for free, and the 42 you do pay. You do pay, and the 6 you don't pay. So there are 2 differences, and that's halacha. Only 2 differences between your miklat of the 6, the top special 6 are a miklat. You know, like the top 6 refuge cities. Sounds like something from a tourist site. The 6 top, cities of refuge in Israel. Either it's first of all it's free, and also you get absorbed there and you get protected, even if you don't know that you're protected. These are the Maila. What?
That receive Meiser, the levi'im?
Do they receive Meiser from who?
From the town, from the produce that's But they
Levi'im get Meiser anyways, but I don't know if it's to do with that. I don't. The Rambam, as far as I remember, doesn't say that we have to compensate the Levi'im. They have to give it rent free, and if you follow Rashi, the Uriah doesn't pay them either. No, I don't think they get paid. They get Meiser, they get Meiser. But there's a Gzeras HaKosov, he has to do that for free. And many things you have to buy tefillin, you have to buy it's a part of your expenses as a frum yid, as a frum Levy. You have to give him rent-free space to live.
So his Rebbe and his
For the
family
six.
who accompany him,
Is
I
Rebbe?
assume that he still
Oh.
has to pay him.
It's a
You know,
good
the
question.
area is not gonna pay, or should the area pay, the man
I'm not
and,
sure, you're saying.
14 children?
First of all, it's not so clear that the family comes with him. And I have to check the Rambam again about the family staying together. It says about a woman. I don't remember. I have to see again about the family. Regarding the Rebbe and the Talmud that come along with him, maybe they're also rent free because that's halacha. It's part of his accommodation. So I assume they have to come as well. L'chayro. I think so. I think a Rebbe comes with the whole shiur, with the whole yeshiva. The yeshiva of Chveis Mir or Lakewood, if Chas v'Shalom v'yotzech b'shegeg, you know what? Then 2,000 people.
So they're gonna be mitzvah if this Rosette dies.
No, the Mispal
They'll
Kohen
be
Gadol
mitzvah.
dies. The Kohen Gadol dies.
Yeah.
Or the Rotzach, one of the two. Yeah.
Rosette.
Okay, Chayzer l'srora shoyabo. He goes back to the authority, to the post, the status that he had. He goes back there after he was in an Ir Miklat. He did his bit. He's 5, 10, I don't know, 12 minutes, 12 years until Kohen Gadol died. He goes back to the status where he was before. Tano Abonon. Now let's not get confused. The psukim we're going to see now do not talk about Rotzach b'Shegeg. They talk about a different guy, about the Eved Ivri. Yes, the person in that parsha there, we saw it recently, right? In Bahar, we see the person may sell himself as an Eved Ivri. It's not a good thing to do. We're not talking even about a guy who stole. Even a guy who sold himself as an Eved Ivri should only be the very, very last resort. The Gemara in Kiddushin, Daf Chof, if I'm not mistaken, talks about the spiritual deterioration. He wants to make money. And many times when people make funny money, they only deteriorate worse and worse. Yeah, and yeah, you remember that he sells pair of shvis, and then he ends up selling his house, selling his daughter, lo leinu. So when he ends up selling himself, and then he sells himself to goyim, he sells himself to Beis Avodah Zarah. Bekitzer, it's a guy, lo leinu, he took the wrong, direction, wrong trajectory in life, and eventually, Baruch Hashem, he was redeemed. He finished his, 6 years tenure or whatever that was. And now he's free, but he had his time as an Eved Ivri, which is not looked up nicely in halacha. Eved Ivri is not a good place to be. So there's a comparison here between Mr. Rotzach b'Shegeg and Mr. Eved Ivri. None of them had nice time, halachically, spiritually. It was like a rehab program. It's interesting, the comparison, because both Ir Miklat and Eved Ivri, right? He either sold himself because of bad things or he stole, and the Rotzach b'Shegeg killed. They have to be around good people, right? In order to make themselves better people. Tano Bonon. It says, V'shavel mishpachtoi v'lachuzas avoisov Yoshuv. It says twice. He, who is that? The Eved Ivri should go back to his family and to achuzas avoisov, to the ancestral holding. Yeah, he goes back to the land where he came from. Yoshuv, he goes back there too. The word Yoshuv is extra. Bear that in mind. Says the Gemara, L'mishpachto Yoshav, ve'ein Yoshav l'ma shechzichu avoisov divrei Rabbi Yehuda. He may go back to his family, physically speaking, he goes back to the family estate where he used to live. But he does not go back to the status, to the job, to the choshev authority that his fathers held. That he doesn't go back to, says Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Meir Omer, afushav l'ma shechzichu avoisov. Why? El achuzas avoisov, ke avoisov. In other words, says Rabbi Meir, no, because it says El achuzas avoisov. If his father was a chazan, he too should not go back. Not only goes back to Netanya, he goes back to become the chazan of the shul in Netanya. He was the head of the water carriers, as the Gemara says somewhere. He goes back to be the head of the v'chule. In other words, as a mechlekes, when you finished your time in rehab, you go back to the status of who? Of your fathers. Says the Ritzvah, from here we learn two things. From here, we'll learn two things. 1 second, let me just, let's continue, and then we'll see the Ritva's two important points. Now you compare the Eved Ivri to our guy, Mr. Goyle, the Gole, the one who went to city of refuge. Kshoimer or Shenema, says the Gra, Yoshuv. It says an extra word Yoshuv. I told you, the word Yoshuv the second time is redundant. It's coming to add the equivalent of the Eved Ivri is a Rotzeach. He too goes back to the original status that he had as his father's had. What do you mean b'chen b'goyla? What are you coming to say? Kedatanya, it says about goyla, Yoshuv ha'rotzech el eretz achuzosoi. The rotzech should go back to the land of his holdings, to the state where he used to live or used to be. And the diuk is l'eretz achuzosoi hushav. Yeah, he goes back to the eretz. Last time I checked, eretz means land. He goes back to the same farm, the same land, the same estate, the same palace, the same apartment. Says Rabbi Yehuda, hold it right there. That's all it says. Eretz Avaisov, Eretz Achuzosoi, finished. Eretz Achuzosoi, he goes back to the same dinky, flat where his father used to live, the apartment. He goes back there. That's all. Rabbi Meir no. Rabbi Meir says no. Remember, there was an extra word Yoshuv. He goes back to the Echziku. In other words, Achuza doesn't just mean a place where you live. It means Ochez. The father was a choshev, leader of, something, Amuta. Yeah, he goes back to the original status of his father. 1 second. Gomer, Shiva mehosom. Since it said the word Yoshuv here and Yoshuv there, and in both places, if you follow Psukim, it's miyutar, it's redundant, because we said already Yoshuv. And again you say Yoshuv, it's coming to tell me, Gzel Shova, just like Mr. Eved Ivri goes back to the original status, so too, the Rotzech B'Shegi goes back to the original status. Allow me to just say the Ritva, and then I'll hear you. Says the Ritva, two things we learn from here. First of all, we see that the only reason he doesn't go to basically fit the shoes of his father, to do the job his father did, to continue in the footsteps of his father and take the job, why doesn't he? Because he's a Ghana, Mashma. If he's a nice guy, learns in Koilel, works in high tech, nice Jewish boy, no offense, then he does go and continues the job that his father did. Yeah, he inherits from the father the status. Says the Ritva, it brings Mekoiros, like we see by a Melech, that it says by a Melech, right? It says that if a Melech died, the next, to throne is the son. Unless you have other people, but otherwise, unless there's other necessities, then the one who continues the way of the father is the melech, and so it is in everything else. The chazan, shliach tibur, or sheshiva, whatever that is, if the son is as good as the father, the son does fit into the shoes, then the son should be the one. You see, only here they don't. Mashma, other people, yes. Continues the Ritva with another chidush. The Ritva says, what happens if there was another offense? The guy wasn't as bad, but the guy is about tshuva, and he had his times when he was sinning big time. Now it's about tshuva. Let's say even a mumar. Yeah, he seriously went off the derech. He wore a cross on his neck. He was a galach. He changed his name from McCohen to Yeah, he became Mamish T. McKenzie. And then what? And then he's back to being Mr. McCohen. He goes back to the Sroro. Wow. Unbelievable. He says, the Ritva says, and brings the Toysus, other Rishonim, they say it's an exception to the rule because Rotzeach or Eved Ivri, they had like real lower status or terrible maisim. Interesting. But when it comes to other Averas, he says, no, you forgive the person, and if the person had good, some kind of position of authority, and he sinned, but now he's the real Baal Tshuva, you allow him to go back to the original status, even with his father, even if he's just mamshich his father, koshik in his own. Azar, that's the opinion of the Ritva. He speaks barichus, and so do other Rishonim say. Maybe it's a machlokas, I don't know, but that's a Rishonim that I saw. And now, parents, he's been waiting patiently. You see from the Ritva's words that these people, they're assumed to be the Eved Ivri and the Rotzech B'Shogeg. Once he did his bit in the Ir Miklat, you seem to say that he's about tshuva. Why? Says about the Ritva, other about tshuva, they do go back to old status. Mashma, this guy is about tshuva. Although he's about tshuva, we still don't accept him because he's been really in a different status, much worse. Mashma, otherwise, yes. By the Koyanim also, a Kohen who, except for killing with the Zohar, most of the Kohen does, he can still do Nesias Kapayim. That's also for another reason. It's on his broch, it's Hashem's broch, but that's besides the point. I just wanted Hadron, Alach, Elo, and Agoylin. We finished second parak. Yes, questions before we continue? Sure. Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov. We are now starting the third and last parak of Makkos. Let's make some order in the three prokim of Makkos. Says the Ritva that this parak is really, I would say, the pinnacle. Now we've arrived at the, kind of the summit of Makkos. Because what's Sanhedrin, and that why Sanhedrin there and then Makkos? Sanhedrin is about execution, about real death, capital punishment. I meant to say capital punishment. And Makkos is about people who don't deserve that. They deserve corporal punishment in the shape of Makkos. That's Sanhedrin Makkos. So now we're going to learn who are the people, what kind of averos are averos who grant the person, the pleasure of getting the Makkos, right? That's the parak now. Why did we have the two prokim before? The first parak spoke about Edim Zomimim. Edim Zomimim is closely connected to Makkos. Edim Zomimim also, we said, is finishing off, unfinished business, Edim Zomimim of the Ben Grusha Ben Chalutza. That was at the end of Sanhedrin. And says the Ritva, since we spoke about Edim Zomimim, which had to do with the last parak of Sanhedrin, one thing that was mentioned there was Golus, right? Let's say Edim say about someone that is Chayav Golus, and they lied. Do they go to Golus instead of him? No, it's an exception to the rule. Since we spoke about Golus, Mimela, the Mishnah found it apt and correct to speak about Golus in the second parak. But that was just like an offshoot of the first parak. Now that we've discussed all the introductions and everything else, now we come to the real deal to discuss Makkos themselves. Who gets Makkos, the mechanism of the Makkos, how many Makkos you give, to who, to what. This is really the parak that deals with the Makkos themselves with the lashes. And the parak starts with the words, Ve'elu hen ha-loikin. The Mishnah is going to give us a list of averas that get Malkus, that cause people who transgressed those averas, they deserve Malkus. So now, Rashi already points out another Rishonim, this is not a complete list. This is not a full list over here. There are other people who get Malkus. The Mishnah only mentions people where they're receiving Malkus as a special Chiddush. For example, the first group of Averis mentioned here are people who also get Chorus. One would argue and say, for whichever reason we're going to now, if a person gets Chorus in Olam Haba, leave him alone. Why do you also give him Malkus, right? The Chiddush is, although he's going to get Chorus in Olam Haba, he also gets Malkus in Olam Hazeh. When he gets Malkus, does that free him of Chorus in Olam Haba? That's another question. But Lamaisa, although he conceptually deserves Chorus in Olam Haba, which is horrible, eternal Oynesh, he's still, that of itself does not exempt him from getting Malkus. This is an example, and there are other, as we go through the Mishnah, we'll see that other types of Averis of Malkus, it's a chiddush that they get Malkus in spite of this and the other. Before we continue, I want you guys, let's just get into warm-up, Tell me, what kind of levi'im make the person get Malkus? What's the rule? Usually lav shesh b'maisa. Very nice, very nice. A trip to Switzerland for you. Very nice. Lav shesh b'maisa. There are exceptions to the rule, quite many. But I don't recommend to go to chutzatz now. In any event, what do we say? Lav shesh b'maisa, meaning an active lav. Anything else? Any other exceptions to the rule? Which lavim don't get you Malkus? Lav hanitak la'asei. When there's a lav and the Torah tells you don't do X, but rather you should do Y, it's called lav hanitak la'asei. We learned that too. In other words, don't leave the kodshi meat all night long and don't eat it, but rather you should eat it before. When the Torah tells you, let's say, shalachta shalach esoem v'abonim tikach lach, right? It says, don't do this, but rather send away the mother. Don't take the children while the mother is there, the baby cheek, the baby eggs, whatever that is, but send away the mother. Well, there's like a no and a yes, one against the other. there's remedy. Don't do this, but the remedy is you should do that. Love anita klase, love connected to an asay. The negative and the positive are two sides of the coin mentioned both in the Torah together. Then again, normally there's no malchus. Okay, these are These are usually the two exceptions. So let's start the list of the malchus, of those who get malchus. We'll see how far we go, and tomorrow we'll see the Mishnah again more in depth to see why this, why that. A person has relations with a sister. Funnily enough, as we said many times in Kiddushin, he doesn't get Misa bebezdin. Yeah, there's no Misas bezdin. There's no skila, no sreifa. A person relations with the mother, he has, right? For example, right? With his father's wife, he has, right? With his mother's wife, his mshugana, that's first of all. With a shviger, and also what else? Mother's wife, he gets sreifa, right? Vechule. But some of the close relatives, what we call arayas or incest in English, that no, there's no enish misa. There's a chorus, which is terrible. There's no enish misa. And what about malchus? Apparently, yes, there's chorus. At least the way it seems now. There's chorus and there's malchus. Yes, it doesn't exempt you the fact that you get a chorus in Olam Haba, in Olam Hazeh, early death. Still, you also get malchus. Well, achos oviv is, I don't want to say the general word ant, because halachically there are many different types of aunties in halacha. Achos oviv, his father's sister, he has relations with his father's sister, he gets malchus. Of course, there's edim, asa, yes there is. But achos imoy, the other type of aunt from his mother's side, his mother's sister, yeah, he's a nephew, the nephew and the aunt on both sides, they had relations, they get malchus. Well, achos ishtoi, his wife's sister, that's another erva, your sister-in-law, wife's sister. Yeah, Yaakov Avinu was allowed to do that. He had his own elig reasons before Matan Torah, not in Eretz Yisrael. That's Yaakov Avinu. But other than that, achos ishto, you're not allowed to have relations with, neither with or without marriage. Val eshes ochiv, What's eshes ochiv? There are children. Yes, they do have children. Yeah, your brother's wife. Yeah, let's say even if your brother died. Yes, even if your brother died. And they have children, there's no Yibum around, that's an Isol Kores, and also you get Malchus in all these cases. Val Eishes Achi Aviv. It's not so complicated. His father has an uncle, it's his father's sister-in-law. Yeah? Eishes Achi Aviv, the wife of his father's brother. His father's sister-in-law had relations with him, with a mister, and he was a very active guy. And what? So they get malchus. Obviously, both sides, both men and a woman. The alanida, unfortunately, not everyone keeps taras mishpacha. A man and a woman, even married to das Moshe Yisrael, but they have relations while she's nida. They deserve malchus. Now let's continue. So far we had the regular arayas. Yeah, either arayas, nida is also a type of erva. It says on halacha. Next one, almana l'kohen gadol. Back to kiddushin. Almana l'kohen gadol. Almana l'kohen gadol, and he married her. He's marrying the almana l'kohen. The kohen gadol married an almana. Grusha v'chalutza l'kohen hediot. A kohen hediot married a grusha, a divorcee, or a chalutza. Chalutza is what? Chalutza is a chiddush, because chalutza is the rabbanon. So we have to deal with that, right? Chalutza is not really written. It's a ribui. Yeah, it's not so simple. Chalutza is the raisa the rabbanon. We're going to discuss chalutza later. I promise. Right now it says that grusha v'chalutza. Yeah, although chalutza is not written in the Torah, but both grusha and chalutza, meaning a woman had chalitza, right? She was a yavoma. Husband is dead in Gaza, lo aleinu chalila, and she has no children. She needs chalitza from her brother-in-law. I assume these cases are happening nowadays, lo aleinu. What's next? She wants to marry a kohen. She had a chalitza. She's allowed to marry whoever she wants. Oh, no. She's allowed to marry almost whoever she wants, except for the kohen. And the kohen and her did get married. They get malchus, so it seems as if it's the oraisa. Okay, let's just accept that for now. Grusha v'chalutza l'kohen hediot. Mamzeres u'nesina l'Yisrael. Oh, kiddushin. Mamzeres married a Yisrael, right? Bad news. That's usher, right? You're not allowed to marry mamzer and mamzeres to ben Yisrael. What's a nesina? Nesina is a descendant, female descendant of those nasty liars, who infiltrated our nation, right? They lied to Yoshua, the Givonim, and nothing is like a Givonim. Yoshua had no choice. They lied to him. They came from far away. They were Magai, or they seemed sincere, and then they called the bluff. And then Yeshua said, okay, you're ready in, you stay in, and now you'll have to be woodcutters and water carriers, but the level is very low. the level of a Nasi, and the Nasi is not allowed to marry anybody except for Gioris, Mamzeres, but a regular Jewish man is not allowed to marry a Nisina. What about the other way? Same thing. Bas Yisrael, Nasi Mamzer. Just, the opposite gender. A Bas Yisrael, a Jewish girl with a Nasi or Mamzer, works both ways, is not allowed, and both parties get Malchus. I'm not now discussing whether to get Malchus upon getting married or marriage plus relations. There are a lot of questions on everything. We're just now reading in general, right? Okay. Almana ve'gurusha. Almana ve'gurusha. Let's say there's one woman who has a history. Yeah, that's good chazon kiddushin. Yeah, a woman was an almana, said, and then afterwards she married a guy. The marriage didn't work right. Then now she's a grusha. So that woman is one lady, Shprintzabela Paparovsky, whatever her name is. She's both almana and grusha. 2 files on her. And she married what? She's making a lot of wrong choices in her life. She married Mr. Cohen. Oops, I'm sorry. Almana v'grusha chayovin alea mishum shnei shemois. So the choyer almana v'grusha, if the Cohen now married her, whatever marriage means, marriage relations, he's chayev 2 shemois. He's chayev 2 sets of malchus. Sometimes you have that. You can do 1 maisa, you get 39 plus 39 malchus. Technically, that's another question, how and when. Well, the maisa, because in one body she embodies, so to speak, both almana and grusha. She's both 2 for the price of 1. He married 1 girl, 2 isurim. So he's chayev 2 sets of malchus for marrying that woman who's both almana and grusha. Okay, because they're both mufrosh in the Torah. They're both separate isurim, mufroshim in the Torah. Mashe'en ken grusha v'chalutza and a chayev l'mishum achas bilvan. A grusha v'chalutza. There's a woman who got divorced. Then she remarried another guy. Of course, his name is Shimon. She married Shimon Cohen, let's say. Okay, that's not Cohen. No, she was a grusha and she married Shimon Israel. Very nice. Hoping all will be well. And what happened then? Shimon Israel went to the army, and he died. And he has no children. Doesn't matter if he has children from the other guy. She has no children from Shimon Israel. His brother did chalitza to her. His brother, Yomi Israel, was cholet. So now this woman is the grusha from 5 years ago. And she's also chalutza from now. And now she married, again, don't do that. Who did she marry? A Kohen, you klutz. She married a Kohen, well, being grusha and chalutza, then the Kohen is only chayav in her 1. Why? Because even if you say chalutza is the oraisa, chalutza is the derivative of chalutza, of grusha. It doesn't say in the Torah anywhere. You can take a magnifying glass and look through the entire parshas Emor. It doesn't say not to marry chalutza. Even if you hold chalutza as the oraisa, which seems to be the direction here, grusha, chalutza is derived from grusha, because chalutza is a mini grusha, right? It's similar. She had Zika, you know these terms, right? I don't have to translate. Once the husband died in Gaza, Hashem Yikom Domoi, she now automatically has Zika, like half marriage, so to speak, with a brother, and that is being cut off by the chalitza. So this is similar to get. It's like a miniature version of get. So because it says grusha and it says ve'isha grusha me'isha, the darshans that chalutza is like grusha. So if one woman had gerushin 5 years ago, she had chalutza 5 days ago. Grusha and chalutza, they come from the same issue. They're both derivatives of the same love. Mimela, Mr. Cohen, who wrongly married her now, will get 1 set of malchus and not 2. Because Lamaisa, Grusha and Chalutza are both, subtitles. Actually, not. Chalutza is a subtitle, is a derivative of Grusha. The Lamaisa, the Isser is 1. Mashenken, Grusha and Almana, Grusha and Almana, let's say for Kohen Gadol, these are 2 Isurim, separate Isurim. Almana is mentioned in the Torah for Kohen Gadol, and Grusha for everybody. So Kohen Gadol married Almana and Grusha. It's 2 separate Isurim, it's have 2 sets of Malchus. We're in the middle of the Mishnah. We'll see better tomorrow. Bezos Hashem. We're in the 2 dots. Remember, we're in the Mishnah of Yud Gimel Amud Aleph, in the middle of the Mishnah in the 2 dots. Atzlocha, bracha. Tomorrow this year is normal, and Tisha B'av, hopefully we'll be dancing with Mashiach. If not, no Shiur. And Wednesday, tomorrow is normal. Tomorrow, Bezos Hashem, we're in. Atzlocha, b'chol inyanim. Have an amazing week of Geula. The rest of the week we're learning. Every day we have to learn because we have to finish Makkos before something. Atzlocha v'rocha b'chol ha'inyanim. Thank you all for being here, and I'm listening to your questions. Thank you to Torah Anytime.